Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new build in my series building Nancy Drew in The Sims 4. Today we are continuing our series where I build an entire house, apartment, or community lot based entirely off of one Nancy Drew game. This can include the color scheme of the game, the mystery of the game, the items that you might find in the game, characters from the game, basically anything from the game can inspire these builds. And today we are doing Warnings at Waverly Academy, which just so happens to be my favorite Nancy Drew game for a variety of reasons, not least of which is the location and the theme of taking place at an all-girls boarding school. So we've got fantastic dark academia vibes, we've got beautiful libraries, we've got teenage girl drama, which feels extremely relatable, we've got fun chores. I mean, all of it is just so fantastic. Everything about Waverly makes my heart swoon. It's a wonderful, wonderful game. So I was very excited to try and imagine it in The Sims 4, especially because we just recently got the Sims 4 Book Nook kit. So since we just got that kit, I was brainstorming with myself about what game I could do a build inspired by that would be able to use the Book Nook kit a lot, make really good use of that kit. And Warnings at Waverly Academy has this beautiful library in Ramsey Hall, and because it is an academic game with students, I figured, hey, this will be perfect for the Book Nook kit. It's an academic build. I thought about building a couple different things. I thought about building maybe like a cottage or maybe even a library. And ultimately, what I decided to do was build here in Brightchester, which is the world that came with The Sims 4 University. And I decided I wanted to build some academic townhouses inspired by some of the buildings, the townhouses that you can kind of see in the background. I was using those buildings for inspiration for these particular townhouses, and I wanted to have kind of this beautiful courtyard in the front. I wanted to have the cutout so that there would be a basement level, which just feels so city apartment to me. Old buildings converted into apartments. It looks really romantic, really idyllic, really academia. And so that's what I wanted to do. As far as the color scheme, we're going with a lot of red. The school colors of Waverly are heavily red reliant. And so what I really wanted to do for the wood tones in this game was to make sure that all of them had kind of this cherry undertone. And that is a very difficult wood swatch to find in The Sims 4, I will say. So I was really bent on using this door, which came from the movie Hangout stuff pack. And basically I then had to find floors and windows and stairs and countertops and everything to then match that door because it is so kind of like vibrantly red. So my options were pretty limited, and I ended up going with these Realm of Magic windows, which I think actually did work out quite nicely because it adds a little bit of kind of whimsy to the build, which I think goes nicely with Warnings at Waverly Academy as well, because when all is said and done, Warnings at Waverly Academy is so much fun because it's more of an idealized version of the high school experience. Like, most of us had some tough times in high school, I think it's fair to say. And so getting to kind of relive that experience in more of an idealized version that's so aesthetically pleasing and where you can kind of match it to your own interests and your own storyline can be really healing. And so it makes sense to me that the windows might be like a little bit more fantastical than you might find in a regular academic townhouse, and that the design in this townhouse might even be just like, a little bit better than you might find in real life. So we're going for a very idealized version here, a very clean, very beautifully decorated decoration scheme, And because there are 2 townhouses, what I decided to do was decorate one of them, fully furnish one of them, and the other one is furnished with the necessities. So all of the things that you would find in a home that you would purchase. So all of the bathroom fixtures, the laundry, all of the kitchen fixtures, the wood, floors, the walls, all of that is complete. So that side, that other townhouse, is completely ready to use if you wanted to have maybe a large family move into these townhouses, and you could have maybe one part of the family live in one and maybe like the grandparents live in the other or something like that. Or you could always use the roommate feature and have a roommate live in the other townhouse. I have done that before in the builds that I've done like this before, where I inhabit one of the houses and then I have a roommate inhabit one of the others. And it just makes it feel a lot more like very close roommates, which can be kind of fun as well. So in order to make these feel like cohesive townhouses, I made sure that the floors, the stairs, the windows, the layout, everything was exactly the same on both sides. So you'll see me do everything twice, lay it out. This ends up being actually very spacious for a townhouse. Given how tiny this lot is, I didn't think it would be nearly as spacious as it ends up being. But each house has a living room, a combined kitchen and dining room, a laundry room, a full basement, and upstairs there is a full bath and 2 bedrooms. I got to use this beautiful fireplace from Get Together as well because it had the correct color of wood. And again, trying to find wallpapers or anything that had the correct wood colors was almost impossible, which is why we ended up using the Realm of Magic wallpaper, because that's one of the only packs that has more of that cherry colored wood. The world that came, Mount Komorebi, with Snowy Escape, also has a lot of that cherry colored wood, but that's a very different style than what I was going for here. So yeah, we made do. We found what worked and I went with it, and because of that I think this build ends up being a little bit eclectic too, which I also like. It's got a couple of different styles where it does feel kind of like older, more academic, more formal, more traditional, but then there's also some parts of it that feel more modern and kind of moving into the 21st century. I really enjoy the concept that I went with the basement as well. It's not it is finished, but it's not, the walls aren't painted super nice and the floor isn't finished. So it's kind of just got the bare minimum down there. And for the family that I imagined living in this home, I imagined a single parent who is a literature professor at one of the universities that come with Discover University. I imagined University of Brightchester because that's more of like the liberal arts kind of feeling university. So I imagine that the single parent is a literature professor there. They also do writing on the side. And then they have a teenager who is kind of getting ready to start thinking about going to university. And they are very artistic. They love music. They love painting. I definitely was inspired by Mel for the teenager that lives in this home. And instead of using one of the bedrooms upstairs, like might be expected, the teenager decided to commandeer the basement and take over the basement entirely so that they could decorate it exactly how they wanted. And I really love how the basement bedroom turned out. I think it looks like a really authentic teen bedroom. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. But right now we are working on the kitchen. Went with the Realm of Magic countertops and then Vampires cupboards because we actually didn't get matching cupboards to go with the Realm of Magic countertops, which is tragic. But I did really like the tile that went on these countertops, and the upper cupboards, I mean, they match enough. They're close enough in that cherry wood kind of color. And I decided to do basically all of the spaces that would need to be included in both townhouses first. So I did the kitchen first and then the bathroom first to just make sure that I had everything matching between the two. And then I could really focus on furnishing the main townhouse as I really saw fit. And now I'm actually realizing I didn't decorate the bathroom. I kind of forgot about that. I didn't even add a toilet paper holder. You know what? I'm going to have to do that before I give you guys the grand tour. I'm going to have to add a couple decorations into that bathroom. Glad I noticed that as part of this recording. But now we're moving on to getting to start decorating the inside of the townhouse. And so again, if we're thinking about kind of like academic vibes, I wanted everything in this house to feel just kind of like traditional and quality. For some reason, when I think about like higher education, those are kind of like the vibes that I get of like things that feel kind of timeless, and things that look really unique and really high quality. So even though we have the pretty ornate countertops and cupboards, I decided to, for example, go with this more modern dining table from the new Growing Together expansion pack and use these university chairs in this warmer cherry type wood swatch. So mixing a little bit of like modern and a little bit of traditional. And with a lot of the decorative items, I was trying to integrate kind of Warnings at Waverly Academy themes as much as possible. So both of the paintings on the wall here have cats because the black cat is a big theme in Warnings at Waverly Academy. So there will be lots of kind of cat-themed things throughout this house. Choosing curtains was a bit of a debacle as well. I feel like choosing curtains is pretty much always a debacle, which I am sure says a lot about how limited we are when it comes to curtains within the game. I tried to use those curtains from the Dream Home Decorator game pack that had the leaves on them in the kitchen here because I love that swatch and I feel like I almost never get an opportunity to use that swatch. But I thought it worked really nicely for Warnings at Waverly Academy because it takes place in a very fall-like feeling time. So I wanted to use the leaf curtains. I do end up getting to use them in the bedroom, but they just didn't quite work with overlapping here in the kitchen. But right now we're just cluttering up the kitchen with all sorts of stuff. I did figure that an academic professor would have a lot of coffee. They've got a lot of mugs. They've got a lot of coffee going. I think that they make tea in their coffee pot as well. They use that as a little hack. They sometimes rely on quick meals to get them through a quick writing session when they don't have time to do other things. So I definitely made sure to give them a microwave, and I liked the addition of putting like the cereal box on the countertop. I imagine just a very quick cereal snack and then rushing back up to the writing to kind of keep the creative juices flowing. I was also pretty proud of myself for being able to fit a laundry room into this build. There was this tiny little room behind the stairs, and I thought about making it a half bath, but I really enjoy putting laundry in my Sims builds because not having laundry when I play in The Sims feels wrong somehow, like it's not as realistic, and so I try to include it as often as possible. But of course, if you wanted to make that a half bath, make it a little bit more functional, that is certainly an option as well. Now we are working on the living room space where I did get to use some of the new items from the Book Nook kit. I also loved how this rug from Tiny Living matched the sofa and the armchair from the Book Nook kit perfectly. I also love these standing lamps. I feel like a lot of the time with the standing lamps that we've been getting, the floor lamps, they can kind of extend too far, or they look just kind of garish because they are so big, but these ones are perfect. They hang over just enough to add a little bit of light without being super obnoxious. And then I just decided to clutter up this living room with very cozy items. I wanted it to feel like a really comfortable space. I don't imagine that this is a space that the Sims in this family spend a ton of time in. I think the academic professor parent is up in their office more often than not, which we will build using many items from the Book Nook kit. And I imagine that the teen sim is always out doing art classes or exploring art in the world, or is in their room in the basement. So I do imagine that there's kind of a little bit of separation there, where both of the members of this family are really invested in kind of their skills, their interests, and their hobbies, and they're perfectly content to just do their own thing most of the time. I don't imagine that this family hosts people very often, but they do like to keep the space nice and clean and very pristine. So on the wall, we did end up having a black cat painting. There is also one of the get-together paintings that looks like a bunch of kind of more vintage figures standing all together, and it reminds me a lot of the picture in the book that we see in Warnings at Waverly Academy of the original founders of Waverly Academy. On the fireplace, I put a black cat statue. I also put some trophies to kind of represent the Odyssey Championship trophy that Nancy has to take a picture of in game, and then just made sure to fill in the space with more books, more decorations, and really make it feel full. I wanted to really focus on making sure that this build felt complete. It did take me a lot longer because of that. But I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any area that felt like it hadn't been thought about, because I don't think that the Sims who live here would leave any part of the build unfinished. I did also think that they would be huge sticklers about taking your shoes off in this house, so I did make sure to put one of the little signs that you can use to indicate that you want Sims to take their shoes off when they come inside. I imagine that both of the Sims who live here are wearing slippers pretty much all day, every day. And otherwise, shoes are not allowed in the house because they want things to be kept nice and clean and cozy and comfortable. And what says that better than some comfy slippers? On this upper level hallway, it was a nice big space, so I kind of did more with the hallway than I usually do in builds, I feel like. Oftentimes, I will just kind of like plop a plant in the hallway and a picture and call it good, but this was a big enough space that I kind of wanted to make it feel more functional. So I put a chess table up here, thinking that the academic professor parent would be really into chess and would try to encourage their teenager to play chess with them often. So I also have like the little chessboard over on the table here. I did put games in multiple different places, or just game clutter multiple places throughout the house, because I imagine that both of the Sims in this household do enjoy games. That might actually be one of like the ways that they bond the most, is by doing a puzzle together or by playing a board game together. I didn't put any gaming table anywhere in the house, but there are a lot of places that your Sims can do that in the community, and I think that that's what they like to do. If they do leave the house, they're probably either going to a cafe or they're going to go to like the rec center where they can do a puzzle together. Or a library. They're almost certainly also going to libraries. So now this is the office space. Traditionally would have been a second bedroom, but again, the teen wanted to commandeer the basement, so they did that. And instead, the academic professor parent decided to use this as their office space, their writing space, their book haven. And so I got to make very good use of all of the new Book Nook items. I used every single shelf option except the half shelf options and just kind of built the bookshelves all the way around. I enjoyed kind of building the desk into the space as well, to make it feel like everything was meant to be there. I decorated it with a lot of little items that I thought they would have around to really inspire them as they're writing. So there's a little radio that they can turn on to get their perfect writing music. There's the Himalayan salt lamp, which I just love having in game. I have a Himalayan salt lamp and I love it. Not because I think it does anything, but because I love how it looks and I just love the cozy vibes that it gives off. I also really enjoyed putting books everywhere in this space. So I imagine that the professor teaches about literature and so has to be very well read and reads a lot of different things. But I also imagine that they enjoy writing and getting inspiration from other books. So they spend so much time in here just nose in a book, nose into the computer, writing and loving the written word and stories. I wanted to put a corkboard up on the wall here, but none of them were really fitting what I was thinking in terms of decoration. So I do end up using this item from Nifty Knitting. One, because I loved the color of it. It had that nice burgundy red, which is a perfect Warnings at Waverly Academy color. But I do also imagine that the Professor Sim does enjoy a little bit of crafting now and again, or they're one of those people who will annotate their books or mark up their books or something like that while they're reading to take notes, and so they have all of their supplies up on the wall there to do any sort of crafting stuff that they might need. I also filled the space as much as I could with cozy blankets and a big fluffy rug and candles. I just wanted it to feel really warm and inviting. There are 2 chairs in here. I don't know how often both of those chairs are occupied. Maybe the Sim likes one chair for reading fiction and one chair for reading nonfiction, and they like to compartmentalize in that way, or something like that. But I really enjoy decorating this space, and I have to say that I do really like the Book Nook kit, and I think it is something that I'm going to get a ton of use out of. I think book clutter is just so applicable. It is so universally able to be used. It's just so nice to have stuff like that in the game. And while I don't love that the kits cost $5, I do find myself using the kits all the time. I find myself reaching for the items from the kits more often than I find myself reaching for a lot of other items. Like if I want to add detail into a build, I'm almost always reaching for a kit item. And even kits that I thought I wouldn't use as much, like the pastel pop kit, I didn't think I would get as much use out of because it is more like bright and vibrant and kind of youthful and just energy that I don't always build with. I use the items in that pack a lot, especially for child and teen sim bedrooms. It just ends up being something that I use all the time. So I find the kits very useful, especially for clutter, because all of the clutter kits are absolutely fantastic and have just little items that I want to put on every nightstand, on every console table, on every coffee table, on every bookshelf. They just work so well. So I'm very happy with the Book Nook kit. I do recommend it, especially if you're someone who really enjoys building and really likes building cozy spaces in particular. I think you'll probably get a lot of use out of it. So now we are decorating the main bedroom for the parent sim. Again, I got to use these curtains that I was hoping to use, and I kind of love the combination of the dark blue with the more burgundy red and the kind of deeper orange, or almost like a peachy orange, is being used more throughout. Some of the nightstands and the dresser are from university. We have the bigger blue dresser, the more Art Deco one from high school years. And again, I was just really purposeful about trying to fill in every empty space in this particular room. I wanted it to feel a little bit more cluttered because I kind of wanted the space to feel a little bit smaller. Oftentimes, academic housing is not very spacious at all, and so I wanted to try and get that vibe across at least a little bit. I sort of imagine that the Professor Sim went to school at University of Brightchester, went to graduate school, went to get their PhD, and just kind of kept going back to school immediately and really hasn't ever known a life outside of academia. And so they kind of just ended up staying in Brightchester for basically their whole life, and they've probably lived in this townhouse for a very long time, and therefore have had a lot of opportunities to decorate it exactly how they want and to really find pieces that they love. So I enjoyed thinking about it that way. And now we are doing the teen bedroom. Again, primarily inspired by Mel Corbelis from Mornings at Waverly Academy, but little hints to some of the other characters as well. But I had so much fun decorating this teen bedroom. I loved keeping the concrete floor and then using the rugs, one to add kind of personality and color, and two to add just like warmth. So I imagine that they are out of necessity and also because the teen sim just loves how they look. I really enjoyed using some of the swatches from high school years, the pastel pop kit that I have been wanting to use and just haven't really had a chance to use yet. So we went with a very kind of like celestial moon type theme for kind of the sleeping area over on this side of the room. Lots of purple. I tried to incorporate magenta as often as possible because Mel has a lot of magenta in her room. And I also just wanted this room to feel very lived in and very particular to the teen sim who lives here, having the clutter on the floor, having the makeup items, because I do think that this sim enjoys more of a goth fashion, just like Mel does. So we do end up putting a vanity table in. Yes, here's the vanity table with makeup and then just a bunch of other beauty supplies all around it, which again feels very realistic. A cute little sitting area, a cozy area for the teen sim to hang out with friends that they bring over or just by themselves, a little video gaming area. I tried to just think about like all of the activities that a teen sim would want to do and would find really cool and would really enjoy doing with friends, and putting basically all of those in this bedroom. It's like a dream teen bedroom space inspired by Mel Corbelis. I mean, she would absolutely have those black frilly curtains with the little butterflies on them. I just think that suits Mel's vibe perfectly, where it's just like a little bit punk, but also a little bit feminine. I think that's Mel in a nutshell. And I loved using the rugs and kind of this overlapping pattern, again, using swatches that I just haven't gotten to use yet and items that I just haven't gotten to use, things that feel more trendy, because I definitely think that the sim is on the trendier side. I also put in these beanbag chairs to remind us of Rachel Hubbard's beanbag chair. I do put in some workout equipment, and yes, the dartboard to remind us of Leela. I like to think that the dartboard was just in the basement from a previous owner and was really hard to get off the wall, and so they just haven't taken it down. But the teen sim secretly loves it and plays darts with their friends all the time. I also had to put a guitar and a violin because Mel, of course, plays the cello, and so we don't have a cello in The Sims 4. A guitar and a violin are the closest that we have. I mean, if you put a guitar and a violin together, is that not a cello? And then the games, like I was talking about, all the board games and puzzles, the records. I put a ton of records on the wall to add a little bit more personality. The painting easel, because again, I think this sim is really into art, all forms of art. Another trophy. I was looking for another trophy case to put on the wall to again represent the trophies that we find in game. And that pretty much covers it. Oh yes, the black robe is to symbolize the Blackwood Society of the game. So the teen belongs to a secret society, and the soccer ball for Leela as well. Just as many little instances as I could get in here, besides just using like the colors of red, black, and gold throughout the entire build. But yeah, that is basically our academic townhouse. So after we put all of these lovely records on the wall here, I think we will pop into game and I will give you a little tour so you can see things for yourself. All right, fellow detectives, here we are on a pretty cloudy day in Brindleton Bay, but here is the exterior of our academic townhouses, inspired by the style of the townhouses. Also around this area, really wanted it to use a lot of brick, a lot of this rich cherry red wood tone and just beautiful bronze and orangish colors. Really enjoyed doing all of that for sure. So if we go to the left townhouse here, then we can go into the front door for our academic professor. The entryway is very simple. It just has the stairs leading upstairs and downstairs. We have a nice little area for putting shoes and coats and hanging up bags and keys and all that good stuff. Over to the right is the living room, and I love how this living room turned out. It feels so cozy, so warm, very academic, using a lot of little items that hint at Warnings at Waverly Academy, like the black cat motif for sure. And then if we continue on into the house, we have a nice little dining room space over here in this beautiful red dining room and kitchen, using lots of red to get that Warnings at Waverly Academy vibe. And this is the kitchen. We have kind of some ornate tiles to give us kind of that fancy traditional feeling. We have the nice little decorations that kind of remind us of how much coffee this academic needs to drink. We also have a little laundry room tucked behind the stairs here, which means your Sims can then do laundry nice and functional. I think let's go downstairs first, since it's just one room in the downstairs area. But if we go down these stairs here into the basement, then we can see the basement area that the teen sim commandeered for their bedroom. So very inspired by Mel, with all of the music and all of the kind of like bright colors, the neon also balanced by black, a dartboard, because of course we got to play some Scram, and a cozy little sitting area with a guitar, a violin to kind of remind us about a cello, a cute little getting ready station, a little vanity station with all sorts of fun items, and then a very cozy kind of celestial little bed area. And I really enjoyed having windows open to get a little bit of natural light through this outside courtyard area. So this is the bedroom for the teen. I think they love it. They don't mind living in the basement at all because they get to have their own space, and they are probably the envy of all of their friends because of what a cool, unique space that they have. So then if we go upstairs, we can see the hallway area, which also functions as a little skill building area with the chess table, some nice academic decorations here. We have the office and writing space using the Book Nook kit with the books all over the shelf. Some more kind of just cozy writing, academic book kind of decorations, some university academic decorations, and overall just a very cozy space for writing and reading. And then if we go down this hallway, we have the bathroom, just kind of using some of the items from the Growing Together expansion. And then we have the main bedroom up on this level that has a lot of just kind of like rich colors, fully decorated with lots of academic kind of items and little decor that reminds us of who inhabits this space. So yeah, that is our academic townhouses inspired by Nancy Drew, Warnings at Waverly Academy. I am very happy with how this build came out. I think it really hits the Warnings at Waverly Academy vibes, but you all will definitely have to let me know what you think in the comments section. If I didn't tell you that this was a Waverly inspired build, would you know that this build was supposed to be inspired by Warnings at Waverly Academy? Are you picking up on the vibes? Can you see it? So yeah, thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.